Hi, I'm Dave Schoner. I am a member of the board of the Garden State Film Festival, and also, which I'm excited about today, is I am the chairman of the screenplay competition. And I want to welcome the long form screenplay competition winner, Rob Thorpe. Congratulations and thank you. It was exciting. And I also want to welcome Lizbeth, who is you're actually with the project right now, which is going to be facilitating our reading this year. Absolutely. And so we're really excited about it. And so welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Garden State Film Festival. It's I've been doing the screenplay competition, the reading of it for about 4 years now. And I remember when Lauren and Diane wanted me to take it over, and not that it wasn't this way before, but I wanted to make sure that it was I always say, beyond reproach. I want to make sure that it's given the attention it's due and the anonymity, so that it's completely anonymous and everything. And so congratulations.
Thank you.
And it was a lot of reading, but a lot of fun, and I'm thrilled with what my readers ultimately selected, and it was unanimous. So
it felt good getting a phone call.
So what I'd like to do is, I could read your bio and stuff like that, and I would just rather have you talk about yourself a little bit more, because I think it's actually kind of interesting. I know the bios of both of you, and I just thought it might be a little bit more interesting having talking about yourself first, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, we actually met outside, so it was nice.
We had a nice conversation. Yeah. We know everything now.
Went to film school, went the traditional kind of route, and came out like most film students, I think, thinking that was it. Boom, it's over, and just kind of learned to hustle, talked my way into film sets, and started writing, because that's the thing you can do without a crew. You can focus on writing, you can develop that. So I really kind of dug into screenwriting, and then also started making short films, and got a kind of ragtag feature off the ground a couple of years ago, and really loved it. Loved set work with the feature, and also saw kind of my script from that side. As a director, you're like, oh, that worked, that didn't, and that kind of invigorated me into the screenwriting process. And then I'm in my second film, post-production now, my second feature, Shark River, and a bunch of scripts piling up, and kind of in that world right now. I have a small production company, Rucksack Films, just really small, kind of guerrilla, level work, and a nice crew in Monmouth County that we've kind of developed. There's a lot of people that are kind of united, and that's kind of where I'm now.
The interesting thing is, and this is my theme I keep on reiterating, is with the Garden State Film Festival, you become family. Mm-hmm. And what you're talking about, even with the context of your production company and stuff like that, you become family. You're using the same people over, and you're in the same area, and that's a big deal with us. Yeah. You really stay with us, and congratulations. So last year it was tough, doing we were in virtual. 2 weeks we shifted everything to virtual. So this year we planned accordingly, to make sure that everything could be executed both hybrid and in a virtual format. And so one of the things that we're really excited about is obviously the screenplay reading, because for us it's a big deal, and it's a great way to honor the winner of the screenplay competition. But now we've got Project Right Now. And so I want you to tell me about that, because I know Diane and Lauren are excited about your involvement with the festival.
Yeah, we're super excited as well. This is all kind of just coming together. It's like magic, just manifesting, putting out in the universe, like, I want to meet more people, screenwriters, filmmakers. We just reached out to Diane and said, hey, look, we launched a screenwriting academy. Is there something we can do? We might want to do a contest. And they were like, help us do this. We need help. We were looking for partners. You guys are the right people. And we've done a couple table reads already, and we're finding them to be so critical for our writers, letting them hear their words aloud. So many of the writers don't hear their words aloud. They just keep that screenplay on the computer or in the drawer. And when the actors kind of come on board, it's like, it's real now. You can picture it. You can see the crew. You can see the props and everything coming to life. So it's just really what I love doing is the whole process, being in this community. I think all of us being in New Jersey and really movies started here. So anytime we meet people, we're like, oh my God, we're like this tribe. So I was out of it for a couple of years and coming back into it as a writer, as a teacher, and then being like, oh, now I'm creating this academy. Who else is out there? And finding this community again. It's just been amazing. I love it.
Well, it's interesting you talk about, the writing and that whole aspect, and also hearing your words come to life, because that's also what you were talking about when you're, you're behind the camera and you're watching it happen and come to life. And so that's a big deal.
Yeah, I think every young writer should try to make a movie to see their screenplay, just for the reason of, we were talking about outside, like seeing what worked. It's on the page, it's different than performed. So it's a great lesson. Totally different.
Yeah. So the screenplay is The Boy Roach.
Yeah.
And so I could easily read the synopsis. But once again, I'd rather have you're pitching it to the studio.
He's not going to make it easy for you.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, I just went to the.
I mean, I read it. I read the screenplay and I loved it. So, but
it's just the well of family.
That's right.
A great well you can return to over and over again. It's no matter who you are, the family void that you start from and go back to is always there. So, it's just about a youngest son, kind of prodigal son story, who is off the grid for about 15, 16 years, kind of bouncing around from commune to commune. And he gets kicked out for one too many pranks gone wrong. And he has no options. So he goes back to his familial home in New Jersey. And his parents are, now aging baby boomers, empty nesters. All their neuroses are on full display. And he has to face everyone who he kind of left. Angry older brother, kind of dislocated parents, all this failure to launch stuff that I think is interesting. And it's a comedy, but I'm Irish, so it's dark. And I definitely pulled from my family's influence. All this, not them, it's idiosyncrasies that I definitely observed.
And I would think anyone that has in the family dynamic has to have those little, those little things.
Everyone's got somebody.
Yes,
that you can look at and remember how, the pain turns to fun pretty quick when the memory goes. So it was cool. I let my family read it, and they're like, "Is that dad? Is that?" I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And so the biggest thing for us in this, we keep on coming to life is, having a project right now, bringing it to life and facilitating it in a way that is really people are going to enjoy.
I hope they will enjoy it. I mean, we've had a lot of success with our table reads, and part of the thing is just having really professional actors read it. We read it in class sometimes, and it's night and day. Having actors who know what they're doing, professionals, bring it to life. It's totally different. And on top of that, when I moderate, I'm really trying to key in on this symbiotic relationship between the actors and the writer and ask them, what do you need? What are you looking for in the character? So many writers focus in on that one, the lead role. What about all those other parts?
Right.
What are their motivations? What's their arc? And those characters, when they're reading it, actors, when they're reading it, they will tell you what they need and what they want in the part. So it's been really fabulous for our writers.
Yeah, we had a good conversation outside, and she was saying how the actors were saying they wanted flawed characters, and they don't want these perfect heroes. And yeah.
And so many writers are like, but I don't want to make them flawed. Yeah. I'm the hero is perfect.
Well, it's very interesting because I would say the past 4 years that I've been doing the competition, all the characters it's a wide range of scripts, but all the characters are flawed. I don't mean that in a bad way. Yeah, I mean it's it's a viewer participating. It's something exciting, something different, and I think. When you have a flawed character, you probably can relate to them a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And see family and see people in them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the screenplay competition is virtual. And so we're excited about that. And you can get tickets for the screenplay competition through the Garden State Film Festival's website. And we think it's going to be a great day because it's for 2 hours. It's on Sunday from 10 to 12. Virtual, and it's March 28th. That's correct. Mm-hmm. And so what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge and I don't necessarily mean in a bad way, what's the biggest challenge of putting it together,
Well, I mean, we've done it a couple of times now virtually, and that is challenging because there's a difference not being in the room and hearing and feeling the energy, and you don't hear the laughter or you don't hear the responses. But the good news is that we can pull people in from across the country, and people have been able to pop in from LA, producers, agents, and things like that. So while there's challenges in some ways, it's actually getting people together at 10 o'clock in the morning from they don't have to go into New York. They don't have to go to Asbury Park. It's actually those things are making life a little bit easier, I think. So people are like, oh yeah, I can pop in. Why not?
Right.
So
Yes.
that's been working for us actually. And I think we'll continue maybe with the virtual reads even when we can get together, because
Right.
I think they're fun and people are looking for reasons to get together.
And I think as filmmakers or people that are involved in the entertainment field or anything like that, attending a festival, you want to be engaged. And I don't mean there's moments where you want to watch something, you watch it virtually, you watch it. And then there's also moments where you want to be engaged because you have these actors and they're human beings and they're going to bring something to the table that you may not be aware of.
Absolutely. And I can tell you that after our last table read, like it felt like nobody wanted to leave. It was 3 hours and people wanted to ask questions. The actors were excited, like you said, to really talk about their process. And they seemed genuinely excited that people were asking them questions about that. So yes, nobody wanted to leave, which I thought was fabulous. That's a good sign that people aren't signing off immediately.
Yeah.
That is. One of the things I wanted to talk about also is the script, going back to the script. And so this genesis of, I found it fascinating, the family dynamic. And I also found, and I'm not beating up the big Marvel movies or DC movies. It's nice to have something that is, I don't use the word independent in a bad way because I don't mean it that way, but I want to have something that it feels personal. It feels like we're looking at these characters and I'm actually on this ride with characters, and to have it in a feature film format compared to serialized content. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
And so it was actually when I was reading and I was like, wow, I really love this.
Cool.
So I was just curious about your process and this idea, how that morphed, because
I think coming off of 2 movies that I did, I was really starting to get interested in actors and performance. I feel like the first movie we had very little, so I was like, this is going to be a dialogue driven. It is what it is. The second movie is very visual, and I realized I wanted to make space for actors, so I wanted to keep everything very spare. I was like, I'm going to put one ingredient in, and I'm going to leave it. I'm going to trust my writing that the actors will add the rest. And it took a leap of faith to be able to say, like, I'm going to go really spare and not overwrite it, so I left a lot of room hoping for the performance to kind of come through. And I thought it's like an actor script, that was kind of the goal.
Because I think there is always this, and I'm not a writer, but there's always this need to sometimes overwrite.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an instinct, I think, in the beginning, because you feel like you want to be understood. But when we talked about that outside too, just less is more, thinking as an editor. And, I love involving the audience in the writing. So if you tell them everything, they can't get involved. So
right.
If you leave space for them, they will play along and they'll engage. And that was kind of like an evolution that I tried to find in my own writing. And, that was the goal anyway,
Good.
Yeah.
That is an exciting part of the process, I think. It really is.
Yeah.
And have juicy characters. So let's talk about putting it together. Okay. So, because you talk about, you've done these table reads before and stuff like that, but you're putting it together. So what are all those little pieces that no one's going to see all those behind the scene pieces. All I know is we're going to, on Sunday at 10 a.m., we're going to click in and we're going to hear the boy Roach read and with some fantastic actors. But what's the behind the scenes of that?
It takes a village, like with anything, and we'll do a group effort, but we have a casting director. So she's doing a lot of the heavy lifting of looking through the script and trying to figure out who would best fit those roles. And she's dealing with that. Then we have our executive director, Jennifer Chauhan, who's going to have all the logistics, the Zoom, letting people in and out. If anybody gets kicked off the call, taking care of those kinds of things. And I'm more watching for, what's happening energetically that I can tune into and then ask out afterwards and moderate and just keep things kind of flowing that way. So yeah, it's kind of a team effort, and it hopefully will seem seamless and smooth. But as I always say at the beginning of these things, hey, we're all just doing this, and we don't know if there's going to be a storm and the Zoom's going to all go out, but we don't know if the dogs and the babies are going to start crying in the background, but just deal with us and mute if you have to. And we're going to try the best we can. And like I said, it's been working out really well. And maybe that's part of the pandemic. We're all a little bit open-minded at this point. We're all kind of flowing with it. Yes. And it's working out well. And it's working out really because we're not overthinking things. I think we're just saying, let's put out our best stuff we can.
Right.
And it's working. It's connecting.
And in a way, I think over the Zoom, the actors, it's just you. You're not in this massive room right now. And I mean, this is a positive. You're not in the massive room where your attention, it's you. It's this little box right here that you're focused on.
Yeah. Well, I know the first table read that we did, they asked me to read like the narration, and I was like, "What? I want to do this."
It's a lot of work,
That was more crazy than anything else. I can get up there and I can talk off the cuff and ask questions, but I was like, "Oh my god, this is a lot!" Like I was out of my body doing that experience because that was a little bit. But no, I think it's been really great, and I'm just having so much fun doing it. I'm like, more, bring it on, bring it on. So I was so excited, like, to meet Rob and to read the script and to be seeing it all come together. I think it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I started to connect with some of the people. We're getting messages from Matthew and Allison and random people just like, oh, cool, we're all connected. It's nice.
It is. And this goes back to, I keep on driving it home, and all the podcasts we've been doing is all this family thing.
Yeah,
it's about like family, and everyone wants it to work. And I think in the best possible world of this, kind of COVID hybrid virtual world, it's actually, this is the best of it. And this is how people rise up to make it happen. And I think that is something I really, I get a kick out of.
Well, we were just saying outside too, that like the creativity that's come out of this pandemic, like I know so many people who haven't written in a while. Everybody seems to be writing and everybody seems to be getting stuff finished. So that's the good stuff that's going on right now. People are very creative, at least in our communities.
Yeah. And the writing gives you the ability. I mean, if you're not going out as much, you have that solitude in a way to be able to create and actually do something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I did want to focus in a little bit because, tell me a little bit more about Project Right Now, because I think it's fascinating. And I think that, just my philosophy, that there is, everybody wants to direct and stuff like that. Not that people don't want to write, but they want to direct and they want to act and stuff like that. But the bones of good writing and the bones of getting to that place is a bit of a process. And so I wanted to just have you talk about Project Right Now, because I think it's fascinating program.
Yeah. Well, like I, for a long time was looking for screenwriting, classes for myself and going into the city. And then that was not going to work for me. So I went to Project Right Now and I was like, can I teach screenwriting? Sure. And then from one class during the pandemic, we sort of launched an academy and started teaching all kinds of classes, beginners, to people who are experienced, teens, adults. And I just, again, found that I really love teaching. But the whole idea is that what I always teach these students is that if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. And I didn't originate that. That's Robert Evans, producer. And I've worked in the independent field for like 25 years, like in Red Bank. And I've given coverage to a lot of independent filmmakers. And they come to me with this script and they say, what do you think? And I give them 18 pages of script notes, and they go and they shoot their film anyway, and they pay the camera guy and they pay the sound guy and they pay the editor, but they put no more effort into the script. They don't take any notes. They say it's fine. The actors are on board. Everybody's on board. I don't need to do anything. And I can almost predict what's going to happen. They're going to go over their budget because they could cut 20 pages. Right. I can see exactly what needs to be cut. I can see what characters are extraneous, and it's not that they have to follow my opinion, but I've read so many scripts and I've seen what works and what doesn't. And I feel like if people invested more time into the script, it would save them money when they go out to produce. And also it might help them win contests. It might help them get an agent. It might help them get out to LA and get some attention. So I'm trying to get people past that first draft where they think, oh, it's done, it's good. And I'm always like, no. This is just the beginning.
Right.
It's a process. So that's what we're trying to do. And I think what I said at our last table read was like, somebody said, well, how do you get it done? It's so much work. And I said, well, that's what we're here for. We're here to get you across the finish line. We're here to inspire you, to keep pushing you, to help you find where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, collaborate. We just collaborate and workshop the script and just keep it moving forward. So I'm really excited about it because I see all of a sudden we have writers and this team of writers, and I call it our farm team, our minor league. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to coach them, and I'm just going to get these guys out there and hopefully get their stuff produced or sold or win contests.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. And I go back to when Diane was talking about Project Right Now, getting involved with the table read and the winning screenplay, Rob's screenplay. And the biggest thing was, we do it. I mean, we've done them before, but typically they're always in person, mm-hmm. and it's a little bit of a different ball game. And then when she was telling us about Project Right Now and all your involvement, and you just went through it, it's not just someone organizing people, putting them together. It's much more involved. Mm-hmm. And I was thrilled because it's giving, this homage and also respect mm-hmm. to the time it took you to write the screenplay.
Yeah, and it feels that way, so it's nice.
Yeah. And Is there a particular character in this screenplay? And people are going to love it when they hear it. But is there a particular character that really resonates with you?
I mean, I love the older brother. He's page-wise, he's only in maybe like 8 or 9 pages, but I just think he's such a linchpin for the drama of the story. He forces the main character, Ethan, into different situations, and I think without him, the film doesn't work. And I really enjoyed writing him. He's so volatile and bottled up, and I kind of had fun with what I thought he could do. So the Paul character was my favorite. Yeah, I'm just curious to see how that works out.
And it had to be in Jersey. You were putting it in Jersey.
Yeah, it just worked for me. I don't know. You write what you know. I know everyone says that, but it was like I wanted like a liminal transition from somewhere else back home. That back home feeling, and it was I was brushing it up in like March, and it was still kind of cold, and Jersey, and just that feeling that Jersey gives off is pretty unique. So yeah, it just worked to come back here.
It's wild because when it makes its way through the readers, and then finally it was universal, and then I'll read it just to go over it, and I was like, wow, it's Jersey, and so that was
it makes of Jersey. It does.
Yeah. It does, and you have captured Jersey. I mean, and even if less is more in your descriptions and stuff like that, no, this is Jersey, and these people are from Jersey, and they're not from Jersey in a way that we would think a stereotype, in that traditional sense. I mean, everybody, there's always issues with anything, but it's not like, this is not some stereotype.
No, it's the people. If you live here, you just know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yes. Yeah. So what is the major steps right now getting us? Because we're going to be on the 28th, and it's at 10 o'clock.
Is he trying to stress me out?
He's like, what are you doing?
I better leave and get to work.
I'm hopeful that people listening and watching are going to be like, wow, this is because it's a big deal, and I don't mean that the writing. I think obviously everything starts with the word.
Absolutely.
And that is the key to anything. And when you listen to any director talk, it's always the word. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure that your script gets the attention that it needs to get.
Well, I think you'll be happily surprised, not surprised, but happy about it when you hear it come to life. And it is kind of out of body. And with the table read we just did, we recorded for ourselves and for the writer, and we've been rewatching it and watching it. And it's like, this is great. There's so much stuff to gain from that, to just go through and be like, okay, this worked on the page. This didn't. Oh, the actors interpreted this way. I got to clarify that. And just even going over the Q&A and things coming out of that, it's like, this is just a treasure trove of information that is going to be there for you, the writer, into your next round of writing. And if you do decide to go into production, it's going to help you so much. And we're ready to do it. Like, we've got the team ready, and everybody's phenomenal at what they do, and everybody's so competent that it's like, we all just pick up the, we just pick up the slack. I mean, for our last table read, I happened to get COVID in the middle of that. So so January 5th, I got COVID, and we were planning for the table read, and I literally was like, I can't function. Can you take care of the casting? And everybody just dove in. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, all right, we got to work around the clock to get these, we were still like updating the script. So that's how much I can rely on this team. I was down for the count, and they were like, no worries, we'll make this happen. And I just slipped back in. So yeah, I'm confident if I can do it with COVID, I can do it without COVID.
Yeah. And no one knows the script, so it's going to be great for everyone to listen. It could be a space opera. No one will know what's happening. So and it's going to work either way.
Have you heard the script at all, read on a table reader?
I mean, with filmmaker friends, test driving early drafts, but no, it's pretty quiet.
This is great.
So I have people that are tuning in. I'm like, they're like, what's it about? I'm like, I don't know. Who can say really what it's about? You'll see.
Yeah, it's always stressful when you tell people to tune in, because you're like, God, I hope this goes well.
Plus, it's a bridge too, so you don't know how it's going. Yeah. And I love when people read it back, because it's like, oh, that's what it's about. I didn't know that.
Well, when the actors are like, I like this character because she's so deep, and the writer's like, oh, okay, really?
Yeah, I don't think so, but yeah.
No, but it's great because they find that thing, and that helps you at the next. Yeah,
they're trying to find, obviously the performance, and if you are researching or diving into your character, you're going to get that. So have you been getting questions about character?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, just the basic, little stuff about character descriptions and stuff like that. So we've been talking about that, and that's been fun. Because I wasn't even thinking about that from my writer end. That's usually something I do later down with casting. So that was cool to kind of put that together. But no, nothing much yet. So I'm curious to see how it all goes.
So how long did the particular script gestate? How long was this a 2-year process, a year process? What was this process?
It was stop and go. I had a draft maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I knew it wasn't working.
Okay.
I don't know if it was I needed to, age more or whatever.
Process.
It wasn't, and I didn't want to force it out. I didn't want to ruin it because I knew something was good about it. So I just stopped and I worked on other projects. And then in March, COVID, I was going for a walk and I just went back to it. And it kind of worked in my head. I was like, oh, it's about this. It's about the 2 brothers. That's the story. And I just got rid of all the stuff that was bogging it down and I made it about them and the family. And about 3 months, I think I got the first draft done, honed it over the summer. It was about like 6 months, I guess, kind of start to finish.
Right.
Yeah, it was a quicker one for me. Usually it's a bit longer. That one just kind of worked.
Yeah. And it also won in my notes. It was the
Paris Play International.
Yes,
and it just got into Beverly Hills as well. I found out last week, I think.
Congratulations.
So thank you. Yeah, it's starting to move a little bit. So it's been fun. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. So you're home, but nothing's like being home.
No, nothing. Nothing's like it. Yeah.
Well, maybe Beverly Hills. But
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's nice.
And Paris. I'll go accept that award.
I'm excited because it's great to actually be able to watch it and actually hear the words come alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big deal. And last year, everything was thrown into chaos a little bit, even though it was executed, they did a great job, but it's going to be a lot of fun this year.
Yeah,
and I think we're going to, have a blast it. So what I like to always do is I always like to ask what your one funny film experience, because it's, I know there's usually,
There's so many.
Is this PG? What is this? I have one of those.
I know, it's like, there's so many. Especially in independent micro budget filmmaking. Well, we were shooting a TV pilot about a century ago, and one of our actresses was pregnant at the time, and she showed up on set with the flu, and she was extremely sick, and it threw us into turmoil. It was not funny at the time.
Right.
We were like, oh my God, get her to the hospital. But it was, we had to shut everything. We had to immediately do a rewrite. We had to film the scene, and then we shut everything down. But, micro budget filmmaking, if you send the crew home, you're paying them for a full day.
Absolutely.
And that means you got to get everybody back.
Yeah.
And we had to wait to see what was going on. So it was just you learn that expect the unexpected. Anything that can happen will happen. And it was just I remember my producers in the laundry room with her, slamming the door because people were like, what's going on? What's going on? And they were trying to figure it out. And I was directing at that point and they didn't want me to know anything about it. They didn't want me stressing. But so, there's always something crazy. And this is how you learn how to juggle and pivot. So pandemic is nothing. We got this handled as filmmakers.
Sure is it? Yeah.
But yeah.
That's awesome.
And you have a PG or
I'll do the PG version.
Okay, that's fine. Yes.
My mom is, very supportive mother, so she would read the Home News Tribune as we park press, they're making a movie in Sayreville, and I don't want to be in a movie, but I would go to the audition and try to hey, can I work on the other side of it? And usually people would be amenable to it. So this one woman she's like, sure, if you can do a day or two in front of the camera, I'll let you do a couple days behind the scenes. I was like, that's amazing. Thank you. I'm I'm not an actor. I'm going to be terrible, but we'll do it, So I'm in this restaurant that they closed for the night, and I have the script, and it's really bad. And I'm looking at people, I'm like, this is really bad. And everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy. So the cameraman that I was going to eventually work with, I'm kind of bothering him about his camera, and he's being really nice. And I was like, the script is really bad. And he's like, it's not that bad. What do you think? This is not that. He's like, I've seen a lot worse. I'm like, what's going on? Turns out it was an adult film. And I didn't know that. They didn't tell me. I was 17 at the time too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this dialogue is garbage. And he's like, it's usually worse, you're lucky you have lines. I was like, okay, and I was just in the part where there was just dialogue.
Yeah.
Sure.
No.
That's dialogue.
Yeah.
In the scope of dialogue, it was probably one of the better scripts.
That's what the camera kept saying. He's like, this is not
hilarious.
bad. He's some people don't have lines. I'm like, wow, how many people don't have? What do you mean? And then at the end of the day, someone's like, you know what the movie's called? And it was some horrible name. I was like, I was not told that. It was called Untitled. Newspaper. It was in the newspaper. So she put one over on everybody.
Oh my goodness!
But it was, it was fun. I left. I mean, that was it. That was a one day gone kind of.
Well, as working in independent filmmaking too, I think I've been in multiple strip joints. It seems like every independent film has to have a strip joint in New Jersey. And I'm like, I tell my kids those stories. I'm like, yep, I've been to strip joints.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
That's great. Listen, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
I want to just remind everyone that the virtual script reading is on Sunday, March 28th at 10 a.m. It's for 2 hours. It's a 2-hour time block, and you can get tickets for it online at www.gsff.org. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I think they will really be impressed and when they see this, because it's an amazing family drama with laughs, and I think this will be a lot of fun.
I think so too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank
coming.
you so much.
thank
This
you.
was very fun. Thank you. We're family now.
Yes, it's official.